Today on the Ask Brady Show, we talk about SEO improvements that you can make to your church's website. Welcome to the Ask Brady Show, episode number 61. We've got 4 great questions from the people of Pro Church Nation, and I'm joined as always, to my left, your right, it is Roxanne.
It's true.
True it is. Behind the camera, the editing wizard himself, Joe Nex. And the man with the cam, Alex Mills.
Thanks. It's not really as special as it sounds because I work here, but I'm here.
Roxanne, why don't you take us away with the first question?
All right. First question comes from Nate, and he says, other than passing the speed test, what are some tips and tricks to improve our site's SEO?
Well, thanks for the question, Nate. SEO, for those that are unaware, stands for Search Engine Optimization, and it refers to how well your church's website is indexed and optimized for search engines such as Google. The better the SEO on your church's website, the more likely you are to rank high in search rankings. And this is very important because first impressions in 2018 and beyond are being made online. You want your church's website to rank as high as possible in search so that when someone is searching for a church and thus searching for hope and purpose and community and a group of believers to walk through life with and discover Jesus and to grow closer to Jesus, we want your church's website to rank high because if you're watching the Ask Brady Show, I would suspect that your church is great and we want more people to attend it and find the hope in Christ that your church believes in and is centered around. So, the one easy way to do this that Nate referred to is making sure that your website loads quickly. You can go to Pingdom Website Tools and you can run your website through the speed test there and it'll give you a ton of feedback on what your church's website is doing well, how it can be further optimized, and how quickly your page is loading. Google directly uses page load speed to determine part of their ranking algorithm. It's very complex. We don't know all the equations and variables, but page speed is a factor. What are other ways that you can do? What are other things that you can do to improve your church's presence on search? Well, the first 2 that I want to talk about actually have nothing to do with your church's website, and those are Google My Business and Facebook reviews. So Google My Business is not a phrase saying go Google My Business. It's an actual product from Google called My Business. If you type in Pro Church Tools in Google, you will see a photo of our office. You'll see our office hours. You'll see a phone number, an address, an email, as well as a number of different reviews for our company. And when you search an individual company, organization, or church's name in Google, it will bring up the Google My Business profile if it exists. And it's one of the best ways to add a little bit of robustness to your Google search indexing because it doesn't just show the title with a description, but it actually shows a bright photo. It's usually on the right-hand column of the screen, so it's kind of in a different spot. It looks a little bit different than most Google search results. And so you definitely want to make sure that you are indexed and ranking within Google My Business. All you have to do is go to Google My Business in Google. Go Google My Business. You'll find it there. You can fill it all out. Google will send you a letter in the mail to make sure that you can verify the address, that you can verify, yes, that this is a real address that we are at, and then you'll show up a couple of weeks later. This is where all of your Google reviews will be hosted. And this leads me into the second thing that you can do to improve your SEO, not anything to do with your website, and that is to get a ton of positive Facebook and Google reviews so that when someone searches your church or searches churches and you come up, they'll see a ton of great social proof from real people saying, hey, this church is awesome, and we know firsthand because we are a part of it or we have been there before. And you can do this by incentivizing people. I would run a contest for a month. So we're recording this in the month of April, maybe for the month of May. You do a big review contest at your church, and you're giving away a $100 gift card to everyone's favorite restaurant in the community. Only way to be eligible to win the gift card is to leave a review for your church on both Google and Facebook. It's a great way to add social proof, to add a little bit of validation that your church, you don't just claim that you're great, but you are actually great because you incentivize people through a contest to write reviews for you. Okay, but they don't need to know that. This is an important part of communication. Making, with all reviews. This is the thing with reviews. Like, You only leave a bad review.
True.
You said this, I think, last week.
Yeah.
You never go out of your way to be like, I received my food on time and it tasted adequate. You just don't.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to improve your SEO. When it comes to actual things on your page, we talked about speed. The next big thing is going to be keyword tags and keyword optimization in your title tags and headings. So recently, for the fun of it, I bought the domain Niagara.church because for some reason no one had picked it up. So I decided, you know what, if one day Brady starts a church, I'm going to have that domain. And the reason that I bought that was because if someone searches church in Niagara Falls or church in Niagara, the domain Niagara.church already has the keywords that you'd want to rank for in the domain name itself. If you don't have that going for you, you want to make sure that the keyword of your city or region, whatever people are searching for, and the word church is optimized across your website, especially on your homepage in the H1 tags. So that way when someone searches Niagara Falls Church, it shows up in Google because you are ranking for that keyword.
Yep. Okay, quick question for you. Alex just recently bought a domain as well for his church, and then he got like a bunch of phone calls from people that were like, I work and do SEO for companies. Like, is it worth paying somebody to do it for you, or is it you'll get the same results if you just do it yourself?
Well, firstly, what Alex should have done when he bought his domain was also bought the private feature, because when you buy a domain, what happens is your contact information is connected to that domain.
Right.
And so all of these agencies will look to see all the new domains and then do cold calls for people. So Alex bought, let's say, the domain Niagara.church. Psych, I own it. He actually has a church. I do not, but I own the domain. I also own lifeabundant.ca, which is the name of his church.
That's so funny.
And I bought that for the Nucleus, the Nucleus demo. And then I texted him and I said, why do you not have lifeabundant.ca? He's like, I don't know. And I said, he's like, oh, could I get it? I was like, not anymore. So what happens is, if you pay extra, I think it's like $10 extra, you can privatize your name and information so that when you buy a domain, you don't give out your information to the world. I never used to do this, but then I would get all of these calls from cold calls saying, we noticed you set up your domain.
And he got a lot. Like he got like 10 in one day.
So now I always set that up so that my information is completely private and no one knows that I own Niagara.church or millennial.pizza. That's right, millennial.pizza, owned by me. Oh, you want to set up a millennial pizza shop?
Too bad.
You're not getting the domain. Just wait till I get the trademark on millennial.pizza. Hoo. Then we're going all in. Sorry, Pro Church Tools, we got a new product. Nucleus, it had a good run. Millennial pizza is the future.
Only delivered by drone.
Wow. Now, okay, side note, what would be in a millennial pizza?
Good question. It would definitely have like artichoke hearts and like kale.
Yeah, and it would have, instead of tomato sauce, it would have avocado paste.
Yes. And some kind of like fancy like Gruyere cheese or something.
I believe it's pronounced Gruyere.
All right, I'll trust you on that one.
I worked in a delicatessen,
It's true.
so don't faze me with those. Okay, what were we talking about? Oh, your question.
Paying for
SEO. I have never personally done this. There are very good agencies that can help with this, and SEO can get complicated. SEO is very much abiding within the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule, where essentially you can get 80% of the results by doing 20% of the work. Right. So if you put into practice kind of the 5 best tips that we just talked about, you would get like 80% of the quality that you could with SEO. Mm-hmm. You pay a good agency and they could get you that remaining 20%. SEO is constantly evolving and incredibly complex, and that remaining 20% is very difficult, and it's just like crazy equations and math. So you pay a good agency, they can do that for you. Most are not very good, and they're going to charge you to do those 5 things. That 80% that we just talked about, you can do that yourself.
Yeah.
There are great ones that can work on that extra 20%. I'd say for most churches, it's not worth the $10K you'd spend on them, though.
Right. All right. Question number 2 is from Paul, and he says, I have a question about video announcements in the church service. How many times could or would you play the same video announcement for an event? So for instance, you're promoting an event, say 6 weeks out. How many times should you change up that announcement and why?
Great question, Paul. I will reuse video announcement scripts time and time again because I think it's okay to use the same script and promo. What I will never do is replay the same announcement. And the reason for that is because it's unlikely that you would play the identical series of video announcements one week after another. Right. Not impossible, but unlikely. And I don't like replaying the same thing. It's already hard enough to gain an individual's attention. If they sense for even a second that they've seen something before, they will tune out Completely. So I would never replay something. It can kind of seem like, oh, this will be convenient. It'll save us time. You will completely sabotage any and all attention that you could get from that. And the reason that you cannot take just a single announcement within a video and inject it into another video is if you're using the same presenter, suddenly their hair and shirt is going to change unless you've coordinated to be the same shirt, but their hair is probably not going to be identical because it's been a week unless it's a girl with really long hair, which you could maybe get away with.
Even
of course,
then,
if
I
you're
don't know.
using multiple presenters, you could take one announcement and stick it in into another video, but I would always just re-record it. At that point, you're doing a bunch of extra work, and I think it's just not worth the attention you're going to lose to gain that bit of extra time.
All right. Third question comes from Matthew, and he says, "Hey Brady, I wanted to know your thoughts on Facebook fundraisers for nonprofit and whether you think it can be a good tool for my church to utilize to accept donations, offerings, etc. They don't charge any fees, and currently our church is small and mostly consists of older members that we don't feel doing full online giving would be beneficial for at the moment."
Thank you for this question, Matthew. Firstly, I would suggest, because you even said this in your own question, currently we are an older church and we don't think setting up online giving is worth it. If you at all want in the future to become not what you currently are, you want to kind of set up those processes beforehand. You know, it's one thing to react when a bunch of young families come and then you prepare for them. It's another thing to prepare for them in advance so that when they come, they feel like this is a place for me. Now, to suggest that online giving is going to be the difference maker for a young family is ludicrous, and I'm not making that suggestion. What I will say, though, is you could set up your online giving with a company like Tithely. We know them personally out of San Diego. They're great, tithe.ly online. They charge $0 a month. They do have a per transaction fee, as every online merchant does, 2.9% plus 30 cents. That's what we pay for Stripe, our online merchant. You need these to be compliant, to be secure and safe, and you can't just take people's credit cards online without following all the infrastructure needed. So these companies build them. But with Tithely, they have a great deal with Stripe, which means they get a small percentage of the Stripe fee that you would normally pay, and they don't charge you any monthly cost, which means you can set up online giving, no upfront cost, no ongoing cost, and you only benefit when people actually use it, and then you pay the small 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. When I looked into the Facebook fundraising, forgive my ignorance because I haven't used it personally, and I haven't known of any churches. I know when it came out, I heard a couple of ministries talking about the idea, and this idea of we're going to save the 3%, which they were really excited about. When I went onto the Facebook documentation for the Facebook fundraiser, they said Facebook fundraising has zero fees, except you might be charged a third-party transactional fee. And that made me think that even Facebook is using some type of merchant to process all of these payments, and they're just giving you the software to do it for free. Because there's two different parties in these setups, right? For instance, we use Stripe to process our payments, but we built Nucleus, the software, to accept the payments. You might use Stripe to process the payments, but you use Tithely, the software, to accept the payments.
Right.
Or you might use Stripe to process the payments, but you use Shopify to accept the payments. Facebook might be this before Stripe setup. So they're free, like Shopify you'd have to pay for. So they're saying, we're not going to charge you anything, but you still have to pay the merchant's fee on the back end. I'm not certain. I could be wrong about this, so I would look into it. But it did strike me as a little bit weird, and it gave me a warning flag when I looked into the Facebook documentation, and the first thing it said was, we're free. You might still get charged a small transactional fee. Because the thing is, I've never heard of small transactional fees not existing. Now, if there's anyone that could do it, it would be Facebook, because they would just choose to absorb the hundreds of thousands of dollars of fees because they think it's worth it, and they're such a conglomerate. They're one of the few companies in the world that could actually do that. But that's unheard of, which is why you're probably suggesting it. I would suggest do not do that, because yeah, you might get by with it, but there are some warning flags. 2, you can set up with Tithely for free, no upfront costs, no ongoing costs. You only get charged 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction when it actually gets used. And if it does actually get used, it's easy to kind of write off that 3% because you're like, we never would have got the 97% otherwise.
That's true.
Would you rather have 97% or 0%? I think that's an easy answer. I would suggest going with a company like Tithely. There are a ton of companies that will charge you huge ongoing rates. There's one company that can charge you up to $7,000 per month plus the transactional fees depending on volume. You're not going to ever hit that, but most churches I know are paying $100 to $200 a month plus the transactional fees, and the company's like, hey, you get a free app, and I'm like, oh, goodness.
Let's end that there because we don't want to talk about apps.
Good call, Roxanne.
Last question comes from Chandler, and he says, is there any information or ministry that doesn't make the cut for a church website? If so, how do you decide? I'm in the process of redesigning, and we currently have 7 folders and 44 pages that make up our website. This seems like overkill to me.
A great question, Chandler. I believe that your church's website should be an exhaustive overview, an exhaustive catalog of every single thing within your church. What you don't want to do is make all of that information put it on the homepage or even put it in the navigation menu. It's okay to keep stuff password protected. It's okay to keep stuff very difficult to get to. For instance, with Nucleus, we limit the number of navigation menu items to 7 top-line navigation menu items.
Right.
And then we have these sub-cards that you can embed within a different card. So you could have a card for small groups, and then you could have categories that are subcards, and then you could have individual small groups within each individual category. Now you've got, let's say, 40 different pages. That's a lot, but none of those are cluttering up the homepage. And as long as you're not cluttering up the navigation or the homepage or the footer, you can have as many pages as you want. That's okay.
Yep.
Now, it could be difficult for you to actually maintain them all, but for the most part, these are probably ministry pages that aren't changing frequently, and you can have multiple users, for instance, that could be accessing and managing these pages. But I think that your website is one of the few places where you want to have every and all information available. We did this with Nucleus, where we have the blog, and we're working on this thing called the Nucleus Playbook, and we have Pro Church Daily, and we're like, I want to have every single possible question, possible feature documented and discussed. We have a help center in Nucleus of more than 100 articles breaking down even the most minute, seemingly basic things that you can do within Nucleus. We don't put that all on the homepage. It's not easy to get to necessarily. You can navigate to it, but it's all very well managed and categorized so that it's not cluttering the most important areas. Those being the nav, the footer, and the homepage. I think it's okay to have it as exhaustive. You can use subcards. You can use password protected. On Nucleus, we have another feature called just, hide from the homepage, so you can hide it altogether. People can only access it if you give them the URL directly. But you do want to have all of these things available. You can also hide them from search. You can use no index or no crawl features so that search doesn't even actually index them, so they're truly secret. But as long as you're willing to do the work, which I think is important for the one home-based platform that you do have, which is your website, build it out every single page. Just don't clutter the nav, the footer, or the homepage. And that'll do it for this 61st episode of the Ask Brady Show. If you want your question answered, send in an email to hello@prochurchtools.com. Roxanne will get it. If it's a video, you'll be sent immediately to the top of the queue for future episodes of the Ask Brady Show. If it's a message, hey, that's cool. You'll still be added to the queue. Of course, if you want to ask on social, you can do that on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. #AskBrady. If you want to keep it secret, send me a DM to @Brady Shearer, and I will add that to the list if you're okay with that as well. Thanks for watching, Pro Church Nation. We love you so much. Go seize the 167. We'll talk real soon.